me get in there, deal with the situation, and took him out. What have you got to say now?
Watching the all-time greats has always been a thing of beauty. Roy, Ollie, Leonard. But where these names are mentioned as figures from the past, one particular featherweight had his own agenda during the 90s. One that would become one of boxing's biggest and well-known faces.
He does have this way of throwing other punches from crazy angles.
A 10-year career of cockiness, slick skills, and being equally as masterful outside of the ring as he was in it.
He's seen the skill of the Prince and the strength and the ability and the accuracy and the speed.
Naseem's reign over the featherweight division seemed impenetrable at the time. And whilst becoming one of the most talked about names of the sport, his knockout streak and charismatic personality elevated him to a superstar status that most could only dream of.
I want to see him get beat, or I wanted to see him win, but I wanted to see him.
Taking a hop back in time, we take a look over the Prince's career, from the rise all the way to the fall. So brace yourselves and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, as we take you on another boxing roller coaster.
Making his professional debut, Prince Naseem.
It was almost 30 years ago that the young Prince set foot onto the professional scene. In an attempt to make a name for himself, a knockout in exhilarating style, followed by cartwheels, just about did what it had intended to do.
That's all over. Well, delighted young man doing his flips for all to see.
Rapidly growing his name and fan base throughout the sport, Naseem soon hit global recognition, as his captivating persona and boxing style won the crowds as well as the fights.
He was the flashiest, he was electric, cockiest.
He was the hardest puncher in the gym. Nobody punched harder than him, not any weight. You see some of the videos of him at 10 and 11. He had his hands down and he was moving. He was one of them kids where he caught your eye because he was doing something different than 99% of the other kids.
If it wasn't the performance in the ring that made the night exciting enough, his theatrical ring walks would always be second to none. A very similar rope hop to that of Chris Eubank at the time. But from his crazy dance routines to the flying magic carpets, he always knew how to make an entrance.
My main aspect of my motivation is money now. I would say it's to reach greatness, it's to become a legend, to be supreme.
Blitzing through super bantamweight straight through to featherweight, it was his sheer ability to slip, counter, and land whenever he wanted that made things awkward for his opponents. And after almost securing a 19 knockout win streak, things started to get interesting.
That extraordinary aerial shot. That's how full, that's how crammed the Cardiff Rugby Club is tonight. 8th defence of the title from a local hero, Steve Robinson.
His first crack at a world title fight seemed to be a success, after 8 rounds of making easy work out of Welshman Steve Robinson.
Showboating already from Harris. As he seemed to catch Robinson with one then, he just seemed to stagger a bit when that one landed.
Ending the fight in an 8th round stoppage.
And I think the referee stopped it.
6 months on, and yet another attempt for yet another strap. This time though, at featherweight.
Oh my word! The fight is all over, his legs have gone, the referee could just call this. Now this fight is not finished in the first round, it's because Nat doesn't want to, yet it's all over. The most clinical finish seen in the British ring for some time.
The power seemed to carry through the weight category nicely, as knockout after knockout placed him on a whole new level entirely, leading to some of his biggest nights on some of the world's biggest stages.
What can I say? It's my 8th defence tonight. I ain't getting beat, basically, and Kevin Kelly's here tonight. He's right in front of me, and I can honestly tell him that I'm going to knock him spark out. I'm gonna knock your spark out.
Once he got your number, once he caught you with a shot and had you reeling and rocking on down on the canvas, he would finish you off.
And another left-hand hook, and might that be the end of it? He's knocked out, it is over, and Prince Naseem had it. Well, the American dream does take off for him.
A conveyor belt of wins would stack up over the next 4 years, bringing him to a much-anticipated matchup with Mexico's Antonio Barrera, someone who had been previously mentioned by Hammett on other occasions. A ring warrior who already carried experience holding 52 wins of his own, and having fought Eric Morales in a controversial collision the year before. He was deemed contender material, but yet still a surprising underdog against Naseem.
Any gambler watching that would have pulled all his money out of everywhere and stuck it all on Barrera, as far as I'm concerned.
I think the game plan was just to go in and try and knock Barrera out, because that's what Nas could do.
It was Marco's first time stepping up to featherweight, which many thought was a bad idea, being he was about to step in with someone most had considered as the pound-for-pound hardest-hitting featherweight at the time, and one who had already been dominating at the weight class prior to the bout.
The stakes couldn't be higher.
Obey my commands at all times. Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch them up.
The conventional style of Barrera looked to be a perfect fit for the Prince's unorthodox movement and fluidity. But just midpoint of the first, a hook from Marco gave the impression things weren't all they seemed in reality.
Gets to the body, wobbles Nails with a left hook upstairs.
Though the Prince's movement and antics were the same, the timing and ability to counter his opponent just wasn't there, sometimes even causing him to retreat to the back foot, which seemed out of character.
Every round, Barrera should send him to the corner hurt. And a couple of them were good hard shots. Now for the first time, you see the Prince getting closer and closer to the ropes with his back himself.
Barrera had appeared to be too good on the night, having answers for everything Hammett had to offer, and where his previous opponents would fold under the power and pressure, Barrera remained unaffected, using his offense against him.
Can you believe the odds on this fight with 3.5 to 1? Where is the respect for Marco Antonio Barrera?
For the winner by unanimous decision, Marco Antonio Barrera.
The loss would ultimately affect the Prince, impacting his career greatly, leading him to only fight once more the following year against an opponent other than Barrera.
The defeat against Barrera would never have happened had he still been with Frank Warren and had he still been with Brendan Ingle.
It was the mixed views on why he lost that got lost in translation amongst the public, as some said it was due to a lack of facing real-world level opposition that could stand up to his power and style. Yet a different kind of reason came from the man himself.
The truth behind that fight, I was in a fight prior to that fight that I broke my hand in. And I spent 7 months out of the gym. I had 8 weeks to get 2.5 stone off.
8 weeks.
I killed myself and boiled myself down because the only thing I had to do in my eyes was make the weight.
Though nothing was mentioned about the hand during the ring interview post-Sanchez fight, it may or may not have been the complete truth. But from there, the promises to make a swift return to the ring seemed so far and few, as his fight with Manuel Calvo didn't stack up to much either, showing little aggression and little interest throughout.
You know something? If anything, he's digressed as a fighter. He's relying on his speed and his power, and his speed is eroding.
With time out of the sport, the weight gain and lifestyle had began to catch up with him, and for a man who made a name for himself in the way he did, it was completely understandable.
He could have gone on and done, what Floyd Mayweather had done. He could have been at the top of the division for a long, long time, but basically I just think it came down to that he didn't want to do it.
It's a common thing for boxers, or any sportsman for that matter, to reach the pinnacle of fame and financial rewards to experience that. What's next feeling, and in the Prince's case, a lack of hunger and motivation to redeem himself. Looking back now, it's a sad thing to say that we didn't get to see more of the Prince after the Barrera fight. Maybe a rematch after a few tune-up bouts could have kicked him back into his former self, or even a possible mega fight with the pretty boy version of Floyd who was on the come-up.
You know, I would like to fight Prince Naseem. Hopefully we can meet at 128, or he can come up to 130. We can fight, or I can fight.
Prince Naseem isn't going to fight you.
Well, everybody want to see
after
that fight.
He saw this, it ain't going to happen.
You know, I really want to fight Prince Naseem, but I know you.
Who knows? But one thing we do know is that the Prince always displayed one hell of a chin, one hell of a skill set, and one hell of a fighting spirit that we'll likely never forget.